that's how we define a true referral.
So the big question is, what are the top agents doing to absolutely crush it in real estate, grow their teams, and add more transactions year over year while so many struggle? If you ever thought about this, you're not alone. No one has been able to get the answers until now.
We spent the last few years helping agents sell billions in real estate, rubbing shoulders with top producers, which got us thinking, how can we expose more people to these insights to help raise the standard in the whole real estate industry? We then realized that we could help bridge the gap by getting the secrets from the best of the best so that you can succeed. My name is Andrew Dunn.
And my name is Peter Michael. Welcome to Elite Agent Secrets.
Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode of Elite Agent Secrets. Today we've got Stacy Brown Randall with us. She is an award-winning author, podcast host, and national speaker. Her book is Generating Business Referrals Without Asking. So this podcast is going to be a little bit different. This is someone who is an absolute boss at helping you generate more and more referrals, which are kind of the king of business, and how you can really scale that and how you can make a better job of getting more referrals out of your business. So it's going to be super tailored to all you realtors listening. It's going to be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. Stacey, thanks for coming on the podcast with us. Willing to share your tips.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
So what I want to do, which is what I always do, I always start these the same. I feel like I need to maybe come up with a different beginning, where it's like, I want you to give people a background on how you got to where you are now, and like what was the essence of this? Because with everything we do, there was always there was a crux, right? Usually there's something that happened that caused people to go on a journey. And, if you're now an award-winning speaker and podcast host, you've got an amazing book and you're helping coach people and doing all this amazing things, that had to start somewhere. And there must have been something along the line that made you kind of really head down this route. And you've obviously been doing it for a long time now. So I'd love to give people a bit of background about you, and we'd love to learn too.
So I'll give it to you in like 3 easy steps. And then you guys tell me which one you want to dive into. So 1, business failure. 2, overcame the decimated ego. To start 3, another business that I actually figured out how to do it right. And of having success now almost 10 years in, as you said, teaching people with my referral strategy.
I know which one Andrew's going to gravitate towards, hands down.
No, my answer is I want to dive into them all, to be fair, because I think with real estate, more specifically than almost every other business model, has an extortionately high failure rate. It's something like 92% fail within the first year or quit within their first year. And we've now learned a lot of patterns between success and failure within real estate. So obviously, a lot of business people have tried and failed, as by the sounds of it, you have. So I'd like to kind of get a bit of a life story and understand a bit of all three, to be honest.
Sure. So yes, they always say 80% of all small businesses are going to fail within the first 5 years. And I just came right under the deadline to make that failure, with that first business failure happen. It was 4 years in. I wasn't quite to the 5-year mark before my first business failed. And it was actually an HR consulting firm. So absolutely nothing to do with what I'm doing now. It was an HR consulting firm, big name clients. You would have thought it was successful, but it had some secrets. And the big secret that it had was it couldn't consistently produce potential clients, which is kind of a biggie if you actually want to have a successful business. So, it failed. I had to go back to corporate America, which is really hard to do after you've had freedom from the high heels and the suits and all that politics and favoritism stuff that happens in corporate America. 100%. But I had to go back and get a job. And I had to overcome that ego piece. And I decided to take some time and figure out, okay, there's all these other people who are, I'm as smart as they are, and they seem to have successful businesses. What did I do wrong? So it was really kind of like that introspection, so to speak, and figuring out, okay, so why didn't my business succeed? And then if I'm going to start a second business, what ultimately will that look like so that I can be my own boss and have the success that I'm looking for? So really, it was one of those things where when I look back on that HR consulting firm that failed, It was the consistency of touching business development with the rhythm that was necessary to have the pipeline full of prospects so that I could get enough people to say yes to being clients so that the business could be successful. And then, of course, there's a lot of other stuff that comes with that, like scalability. You can't scale when you're drowning, and I was constantly drowning. And then there's other things that kind of go into that too, like around mindset and all kinds of things that lead ultimately to a business failure. So that was mine. It is, I think a lot of people are like, people try to tell me all the time, like, oh, no, you didn't fail. You just learned. I'm like, why are we so scared to call it what it is? Like, I failed. I had to go back to corporate America and get a job. I had to shut down the LLC, take my shingle down, and then go back to corporate America. But it was in that time period where I realized all the things I had done wrong and all the things I wanted to do different moving forward, which has, of course, led me to now 10 years into my second business, having a lot of success, goes direct back to that business failure.
Yeah, I think this is so relatable. I mean, it's relatable. I've lost businesses for sure. I know Peter has as well. We both have. And that I haven't had to go back to corporate America. That's the one thing I haven't had to do. I have subsequently found other businesses I have not had to go and get re-employed. So I can imagine how much of like a bitter pill that was to swallow, though, because like it's a huge reason people get into real estate. Like it's a massive reason. Everyone, it's like they want time, money, freedom. And, it's like, I don't want to work in corporate. I want to sell homes. I want to get paid, 10 grand, 15 grand, 20 grand to sell a home, sell a few of them a year, and then be able to, hang out with my family, husband, whatever, wife, and kind of live the American dream. I always think about this when we speak about real estate. Obviously, me and Peter are deep in the real estate world. And I just think real estate is the niche that kind of sums up the American dream and what people kind of perceive, which is time, money, freedom, and kind of do what you want when you want to do it. But then the reality of it is very, very different. And it's kind of, it's not a lie we're sold. I think it's just people have unrealistic expectations of how long things take. And we fall into that bucket too, for sure.
I think it's so funny. Way back in the day, before I was I married? I don't even remember now if I was even married or engaged or whatever, but I actually got my real estate license and I was a real estate agent. I did it part-time. I had a full-time job and I did it, part-time with the air quotes, part-time real estate. Give me a break. It's like night and weekends, right? And I did it. And I had a really successful first year. I think I closed like 8 houses in 8 months or whatever. And it was it was the ability to put money aside for like the honeymoon and like, all the things. And I'll never forget showing houses when my son was 6 months old. Because I guess I had my license for about 4 or 5 years. My son was about 6 months old, and I was showing houses with him strapped to my chest in a baby Bajorn because the babysitter canceled. And I was like, I'm out. Like, to your point, real estate may sound awesome because you have the freedom to like make your own schedule, except you're going when the clients can go look at houses. Right. If you're working with buyers. And then of course you're usually negotiating every major contract at like 9 o'clock at night, not at like, 10 a.m. in the morning. And so it was, and I think real estate was amazing and I really enjoyed it. But I used to have this, I don't mean to offend anybody who's listening since they're all real estate agents, but I used to have this saying when people would be like, how do you like real estate? I'm like, oh my gosh, this would be the best career ever if it weren't for the people. Like just that idea, like you're dealing with emotions and, everyone having opinions and their biggest investment that they're ever going to make. And then other agents and, it's just like this whole thing. But to your point, yes, I think that when people are like, I'm going to go out on my own, I'm going to make something happen. Real estate is definitely one place where people land. When my husband sold his restaurant after 15 years, there were people talking to him about, you should become a real estate agent. And it's funny. I told him, I was like, I did it, but I don't think I could ever pass that real estate exam again to get my license, but he's a little bit smarter than me, so he probably could. But it's I think it's one of the things that's just talked about with people that, hey, if you're looking for an option to have that time, money, freedom piece, then real estate should definitely be an option. But it's just, that's not necessarily the reality. Not if you want to be successful, however you define that.
So I'm sitting here smiling because like everything that you described is literally my life 101. They go like yesterday, writing up a lease to then get something done on me. Hey, why don't I pull the condo docs? I just keep in mind, I'm like 2 hours into the deal at this point. And this was probably, I'm just tired. It was after the weekend and I'm like, want to get this done. I finally found the property for this couple. I pulled the condo docs after setting it up inside of app files, which is like a PandaDoc, DocuSign. It's automated signature. And the first thing that it says on the front page says no pickup trucks. Lo and behold, what do my clients have? A fucking pickup truck. Not one, two. And I'm like, oh my God, it is 11 o'clock at night. I'm like falling asleep at my desk. I actually fell asleep on my little couch here with my dog right next to me. Talk about time freedom. You don't have time freedom. You have time freedom to when your clients are available. So while most people finish work at 5, you're in the car from 5 until 7 or 8. This whole daylight savings time is really screwing with us because now we have less than 1 hour, right, of daytime, which means I can see quote unquote less houses. But now it means that I'm in front of a computer a lot longer on the Zoom, showing people houses and explaining them why they're going to put in an offer on a $450,000 house that's worth $350 that will never appraise, and they don't understand because they think that this appraisal gap thing doesn't exist anymore because the contracts changed. I'm like, come on, buddy.
That was a big vent. I mean, everyone's listening and being like, Jesus, it's like we're in some type of therapy session right now.
But I think real estate agents need it,
right?
Yes, and I think real estate agents need the therapy. They sometimes need that, that session to just get it all out. I mean, we're selling my mom's house right now, and I was talking to the agent that's representing the buyers, and he was like, "Okay, the house appraised," and I was like, "What do you mean, the racket appraised? Because that's what the appraisal process is. Don't tell me the house appraised for exactly what you offered, and then tell me that's a real appraisal." He was like, "Exactly. Good news is we'll be able to close," and I was like, "Okay, whatever." But yes, there's a lot of things.
I think the thing is like we actively do this. So like we genuinely know exactly what it's like. It's not some pie in the sky notion of like, here's what, the top agents are doing and we're not selling homes. Like we know what it's like every day. And I think it's interesting because we all share similar experiences. I mean, it's amazing that you actually did get into real estate. And to be fair, part-time to have sold 8 homes in your first year that's really good. That's really fucking good. Like really good.
Thank you.
You might not have been too bad at this, Stacey, if you'd stuck with it. Because 8 years part-time in your first year, you were on for a winner.
Most agents look to get the 1 deal per month, right? Like that's like the holy grail.
Full time. First year.
I should go tell my kids, if you just hadn't come along, I could be like the most successful agent ever.
Peter's daughter's Leah. The other day, Leah at the door showing homes or whatever you're doing, going to see a seller's house.
Yeah, absolutely. Saturday, my wife was sleeping, she's pregnant, and I was like, let me do something nice, which by the way, I got in trouble for that because apparently I was out too long and the baby didn't go to sleep. And then we had other plans. Long story short, I took the kid with me. I roll up. My clients think it's the cutest thing ever. I'm like, awesome. Glad that you're supportive. But the moral of the story is like, gotta teach the kid, the business early on. If she wants to take over the empire, she's got to earn the stripes.
She's out there doing it at, what's she now, 1.5?
Yeah, I said, if my 1.5-year-old can do this, no excuse why you can't, right? And you're telling us part-time 8 deals? Come on.
Come on. And
I want to know how you're doing 8 deals part-time.
Yeah, there's got to be something. Maybe we'll unpack it at the end. But with that being said, thanks for the introduction was amazing. Actually, it's great to learn. Like I said, we love to learn a bit more about you and some contextual background. But obviously, what you're doing now, which is what we're really all here to learn about, because I'm sure we're going to have to execute against some of the stuff we learned today, is referrals. Now, we all know that the king, right? Of word of mouth, the king of advertising, like referrals is basically the king of business. Like if you're not closing a shitload, if you can't basically close almost every referral and they're qualified, there's something usually pretty wrong. But I want to learn more about what you do, what you teach, and I want to dive into topic 1.